How do you know when you have a killer doll in your house? Well, your kid's acting strange and your significant other, whether it's your husband or your wife or your other spouse, takes the side of the said killer doll rather than your side. But the movie we're talking about today doesn't fall into that old trope. That's the good news. The bad news is it falls into a very different trope. So, Megan 2.0. That's what it's called if you happen to live in Australia or New Zealand or the UK. Or if you live in the US or Canada or the Philippines, it's called Megan 2.0. Megan or Megan. Tomato, tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. So this one's a sequel to the 2022 James Wan movie, Megan, or Megan. And the good news is it does deviate from that tried and true formula of killer doll movies. So we don't see the usual beats and plot points of the guardian bringing home the killer doll, the doll forming an unhealthy relationship with the child, and of course that old chestnut of the husband or wife of the one who's suspicious about the doll taking the side of the doll for some inexplicable reason. So we don't see those old cliches and tired tropes of the killer doll genre. But depending on your point of view, whether fortunately or unfortunately, it does follow a different kind of trope. A different set of tropes, different set of cliches. And that is basically following the same beats as Terminator 2. James Cameron's Terminator 2. So in this one, basically Megan or Megan is filling the role of the T-800, Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800, who was the villain in the first one, and now is the ally or the saviour. So this film very much follows the beats and cliches of Terminator 2 and all the movies that have ripped it off over the years. So basically, the same technology that created Megan or Megan in the first film has been co-opted by a big evil military industrial complex type company. And it's been used to create a new weapon for them. Weapon by the name of Amelia. And Amelia has basically been deployed at the beginning of the movie into apparently a country, I believe, on the border between Turkey and Iran, if I'm not mistaken. Geography's not my strong suit, but one of the usual places where these big evil military industrial complex companies are up to nefarious activities, all in the name of destabilisation and making millions. So they deploy Amelia in this part of the world. Amelia goes rogue and kills the scientist that she was supposed to rescue. So Amelia's the essentially Amelia's the Robert Patrick T-1000 character of the movie. So the stage is set for a film that's not terribly original in the broader sense, because it is following all those same beats from Terminator 2. But in another sense, it is trying to do something different from the original Megan of 2022, or Megan of 2022. depending on your accent. So is it any good? Well, it has its moments. It kind of playfully lampoons the whole tech oligarch stereotype. So the people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos and so on and so forth. It kind of has a bit of fun with that. The tech oligarch in this one's basically played by the guy from Flight of the Conchords, Jermaine something or other, can't remember his name, but it's a fairly spot-on satire of these tech bros. I mean, these tech bros kind of try and allude that they're geniuses and above human fallibility and all the rest of it, whichever one you care to pick. But at the end of the day, they always seem to be exposed as not these infallible geniuses, but kind of creeps that are obsessed with all the base vices and base creepiness that people indulge in when they're at their worst, especially guys, I guess. So the movie does quite well at that. One interesting thing about it is that it is bizarrely sympathetic towards AI. The original Megan from 2022 was a cautionary tale about AI, where it was heading and so on and so forth. But the interesting thing with this one is it takes a more sympathetic view. And the cynic in me thinks that the reason it is taking this more sympathetic view is that the studio is probably compromised in some way, being associated with an AI company or a big tech company or a big evil multinational that's involved in AI. And it's a case of not trying not to bite the hand that feeds you, I guess. So this is nothing new. I mean, films used to be daring decades and decades ago. They'd lampoon or satirise or criticise big evil multinationals or that sort of thing. But then a funny thing happened. The big evil multinationals became the parent companies of the film studios. So away went all the critiques of multinationals, private equity firms, and that sort of thing, because obviously these filmmakers aren't going to bite the hand that feeds them. So if you're looking for any incisive social commentary about AI, you're not going to find it in Megan 2. Really, all that you're going to find is a bit of a kind of silly, substandard Terminator 2 knockoff, bit of a rehash or a kind of a hybrid between Terminator 2 and Mission Impossible or something like that. So, not the most satisfying movie I've ever seen. Would I recommend it? Well, if you're kind of bored, you're looking for something to go out and see theatrically, then maybe. Might be a good way to kill a couple of hours. Go out and enjoy some hot popcorn and a choc top. Friend of mine used to call them choc knobs, so you'll excuse the Freudian slip. So, yeah, so if you're after a night out, you're bored, there's nothing else playing, everything else looks like a 90-minute lobotomy or 120-minute lobotomy, then it might be worth checking out. But otherwise, if you're sitting at home, probably wouldn't bother streaming it. There are infinitely better options, especially if you're after a killer doll movie. You're probably better off going with Child's Play or Charles Band's Dolls, Puppet Master, Dead Silence, Tourist Trap. Basically any of the Killer Doll movies, Dolly Dearest for another one. Any of them will probably be a bit more satisfying than this one. Megan 2.0 or Megan 2.0 isn't all that satisfying at the end of the day. Not all that memorable. I've just about forgotten it already. So, unfortunately and ironically, Megan 2.0 or Megan 2.0 is about as memorable as any other sort of streaming content and as disposable as any sort of streaming content, but maybe that's appropriate given the subject matter of AI and the dangers of AI. Not that the filmmakers really broach any of that, but nevertheless, those themes are going to be running in your head while watching the movie, even if they're actively trying to avoid it. The interesting thing about this one, the villain is actually against AI, so that's kind of interesting, and that tells you all you need to know about the motivations of these studios, I guess. So there's no social commentary about the evils of AI. It's more a case of the championing of AI. So an interesting movie, but interesting doesn't always equate to good or entertaining or memorable. So I guess if you're curious and you can see it cheaply, then by all means. But otherwise, you'd probably be better served seeking out one of the lesser-known puppet masters, or ideally one of the better puppet masters, or Child's Play, or Dolly Dearest, or Dolls, Dead Silence, any of those sort of killer dolls slash killer ventriloquist dummy movies. And I think it's safe to say Megan 2.0 will be forgotten quite quickly, but naturally they're probably working on a Megan or Megan 2.5 or a Megan 3.0 as we speak. So that's all I've got to say about this one. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like, maybe comment below if you agree or disagree, and I look forward to seeing you next time.